stated mission of equity and diversity and inclusion is so general as to be meaningless. If you ask 10 people what it means, you'll get 10 different answers. The office, according to the website, is supposed to implement a strategic vision that cultivates inclusive and supportive learning and working environments, and ensure that there are resources to improve the human condition for all. But the UW, of course, Madison is the flagship for the campus system. Its division of diversity, equity, and educational achievement priority is a little more specific. It includes increasing the access to underrepresented minorities to STEM, the achievement gap between the majority and the underrepresented students. Let's start there. The ultimate achievement I would agree that only one point really matters. When you're a student with huge tuition bills, you need to get a degree. Otherwise, you're in a big pickle with low income and huge debt. DEI programs are supposed to help a variety of the underrepresented students, but let's focus on the black students today. The low number of black students graduating with bachelor's degrees in the UW system is a travesty. And despite enormous DEI bureaucracy, according to their site, they have 96 employees. Whether they're full-time or part-time, we don't know, because they wouldn't answer Mike Nichols' phone calls. According to the U.S. Census for 2022, the state of Wisconsin has 6.6 of its residents are black or African American. In the 21-22 year, 146 earned a bachelor's degree from the UW-Madison. That's less than 2% of the total population of students that graduated with a degree. The number of graduates fluctuates from year to year, of course, and that is only 3 more than had graduated with degrees 10 years ago. UW is failing to successfully bring black students into STEM disciplines. STEM we know stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. Only 6 students earned a bachelor's degree in computer and information. One minute?
1 minute, Mr. Hartley.
Thank you. And supportive services, 16 in engineering, 19 in biological and biomedical, and 4 in math. Madison, the largest campus, but the other campuses didn't fare very well either. Eau Claire only graduated 19, Green Bay only 18, La Crosse only 16, Parkside, the best number, 47, River Falls 9, and Superior 2. That is the majority of my discussion. Of course, there's more, but we don't have time.
Thank you very much.
Hello, Jim Hess, Eden.
Welcome.
Thank you. In July, Governor Evers signed a bill that implements a phonics-based approach with second graders. It comes after 30 years of using a disastrous method called the 3 cueing system, which instructed students to A, skip the word and come back to it, B, look at the picture to work out the word, or C, try a word that makes sense. 3Qing is basically guessing. Do we guess in any other important occupation? How about piloting? Would we want the pilot that we're flying in, the airplane we're flying in, to guess at the controls? Certainly not. Yet in our own schools, for over 30 years, we've been using this 3Qing. That is guessing. This inferior way of teaching students to read have left tens of thousands of public school students unable to read their diploma. And we have seen a steady decline of reading grades. Yet, there are people upset that the proven method of phonics is coming back to our schools here in Wisconsin. Yes, the teachers union and the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction lobbied against phonics coming back to our schools. I believe people who have scholastically for so many years harmed our kids should be charged with crimes against children. Also in July, the Center for Disease Control offered guidance for men identifying as transgender. Remember, this is the same agency that recommended the public school COVID mandates 3 years ago, which included closing our schools, which to this day negatively affects children's learning. And the CDC continues to push COVID vaccines on our students for a non-existing child disease. Here is the latest misleading guidelines from the CDC. Transgender and non-binary gendered individuals may give birth, and breastfeed, or feed at the chest, called chest feed. But doctors are warning that the hormone drug that taken by men wanting to chest feed can pass into breast milk in small amounts and can give babies irregular heartbeats. Also, there are no long-term adverse effect studies. This is the CDC who gives us recommendation. It's crazy. And the plain fact that our kids know is that a man cannot give birth or breastfeed a child. Even our own students know that. But we followed the CD guidance. Board members, stop following the destructive advice of the CDC, the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction, and teacher union bosses. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hess.
Good evening. I'm Richard Gettimer from 49 Aurora Lane, Fond du Lac, Wisconsin.
Good evening.
This is the most exciting time of the year. I can still smell the waxed halls, the crayons, and the paste of my elementary school. It's just a great time, a lot of expectations, kids coming back to school, as well as teachers gearing up. I just thought it would be important tonight to come and to just read a little bit of the Wisconsin Statute 118.01, Educational Goals and Expectations, because there can be a lot of distractions during the school year, and academic excellence is where we need to be focused as a district. First, sub 2, educational goals. Academic skills and knowledge. Since the development of academic skills and knowledge is the most important goal for schools, each school board shall provide an instructional program designed to give pupils basic skills, including the ability to read, write, spell, perform basic arithmetic calculations, learn by reading and listening, and communicate by writing and speaking. Analytical skills, including the ability to think rationally, solve problems, use various learning modes, gather and analyze information, make critical and independent judgments, and argue persuasively. 3, a basic body of knowledge that includes information and concepts in literature, fine arts, mathematics, natural sciences, including knowledge of the elements of agriculture and the conservation of natural resources, and social sciences, including knowledge of the rights and responsibilities of the family as a consumer, cooperative marketing, and consumer cooperatives. The skills and attitudes that will further lifelong intellectual activity and learning. 5, knowledge in computer science, including problem solving, computer applications, and social impact of computers. Vocational skills. Each school board shall provide instructional program designs to give pupils an understanding of the range and nature of available occupations and the required skills and abilities. Preparation to compete for entry-level jobs not requiring post-secondary school education. Preparation to enter job-specific vocational training programs. Positive work attitudes and habits. Citizenship. Each school board shall provide an instructional program designed to give pupils an understanding of the basic workings of all levels of government, including the duties and responsibilities of citizenship. A commitment to the basic values of our government, including appropriate instruction and ceremony, the proper reverence and respect for and the history and the meaning of the American flag, the Declaration of Independence, and the U.S. Constitution, the Constitution and the laws of this state. The skills to participate in political life and understanding of the function of organizations in society, knowledge of the role and importance of biological and physical resources, knowledge of state, national, and world history, and appreciation and understanding of different value systems and cultures. At all grade levels, an understanding of human relations, particularly with regard to American Indians, Black Americans, and Hispanics. Personal development. Each school board shall provide instructional program designed to give pupils the skills needed to cope with social change, the knowledge of the human body and means to maintain lifelong health, including the knowledge of the theory and practice of physical education, including the development and maintenance of physical fitness. Knowledge of the nutrition value of foods as outlined in the Dietary Guidelines for Americans, a publication of the Federal Departments of Health and Human Services and Agriculture. And the knowledge of the role of nutritious diet in promoting health, preventing chronic disease, and maintaining a healthy weight. Knowledge of physiology and hygiene, sanitation, the effects of controlled substances under Chapter 761, and the alcohol upon the human system, symptoms of diseases, and proper care of the body. No pupil may be required to take instruction in these topics if his or her parents files with the teacher a written objection thereto. If a pupil does not take instructions in these subjects as a result of the parental objection, the pupil may not be required to be examined in the subjects and may not be penalized in any ways for not taking such instruction. But if the subjects receive credit towards graduation, the school board may require the pupil to complete an alternative assignment that is similar in subject and in the length of time necessary to complete. Instructions in physiology and hygiene shall include instruction on sexually transmitted diseases and shall be offered in every school. Awareness
Mr.
about-
Gedimer, we got about 30 seconds.
Okay. So anyhow, you can look further at 118. I just think it's important for a reminder, as either it was Curly Lambeau or Vince Lombardi would say, what are the fundamentals? And it was the football. What are the fundamentals of every education system? Is education. Thank you, and thank you for your service to the community, and I appreciate the focus you guys have been taking. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing that we have no one, we will move on to the approval of the consent resolution agenda. The board members have been provided background material and information on each item or have discussed it at a previous meeting. These items will be acted upon with one vote without discussion. Any board member may remove an item from the agenda. This item will be discussed and voted on separately under the agenda item of individually considered resolutions.
I move to approve the consent agenda as follows. A, approval of minutes, July 10th, 2023 Board of Education regular meeting executive session as presented. B, Chief of Finance and Operations current expenses to approve bills of the Board of Education in the amount of $5,171,613.23 and they have warrants drawn for their payment. Resignations, Jared Esla, physical education teacher at Fondy High, effective July 3rd, 2023. Timothy Evers, special education teacher at Sabish Middle School, effective June 7, 2023. Carrie Beth Rose, special education teacher at Waters Elementary School effective July 27, 2023. And Sonia Rosenkrantz Tosa at Waters Elementary School effective July 24th, 2023. Employment recommendations effective the 2023-24 teacher contract year. Jamie Booner, 1.0 FTE English teacher at Fond du Lac High School at level 7. Clarissa Haney, 0.5 FTE 4K teacher at Mary Linsmeyer at level 4. Matthew Hine, 1.0 FTE science teacher at Fond du Lac High School at level 7. Shelby Hermes, 1.0 FTE Spanish teacher at Fond du Lac High School at level 4. Crystal Jacoby, 0.5 FTE 4K teacher at Parkside Elementary School at level 3. Bailey Mitchell, 1.0 FTE cross-categorical teacher at Tyson Middle School at level 4. Maria Penn, 1.0 FTE grade 3 teacher at Roberts Elementary School at level 4. Lara Melissa Rohr, 1.0 FTE English teacher at Fond du Lac High School at level 6. April Schneider, 1.0 FTE math teacher at Fond du Lac High School at level 4. Sarah Stump, 1.0 FTE grade 2 teacher at Parkside Elementary School at level 10. Brooke Waite, 1.0 FTE science teacher at Fond du Lac High School at level 1. Robbie Joe Walker, limited contract, 1.0 FTE grade 7 science teacher at Savers Middle School at level 5. Kelly Zangle, 1.0 FTE cross-categorical teacher at Lakeshore Elementary School at level 10.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Henschel, seconded by Mr. Godfrey to approve. Can we have the roll call, please?
Godfrey,
Yes.
Henschel.
Yes.
Horth.
Yes.
Motor.
Yes.
Panow.
Yes.
Uselman, yes. Schreider.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0. We will now move on to the individually considered resolutions. First one up is the chief of schools. Mr. Steinberg.
Yes, so each of the board will only approve the student schedule. All schools meet the state requirements for hours and minutes of instruction. Some schools have decided, actually, no schools have decided to continue with the staggered start. So that's the Waters and Savers that had a staggered start last year coming out of the pandemic. This year they decided to go back to the normal start times. For elementaries, that's basically 8:15 to 3:15, with the exception of Lakeshore, which is 8:40 to 3:40, and Roseno, that is 8:30 to 3:30. And then all middle schools are 7:55 to 3:06, and the high school being 7:55 to 3:25.
I apologize for that. I jumped ahead
Yeah, I was
before
supposed
the
to-
motion.
I move the Board of Education.
You
of-
discussed that before the motion.
Yeah, I move the Board of Education approve the 2023-24 student school schedules as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Henschel, seconded by Mrs. Horth. Thank you, Mr. Steinbarth, for your brevity in explaining that. And I snuck in the word brevity, so. Can we have the roll call, please?
Sure. Henschel.
Yes.
Horth.
Yes.
Motor.
Yes.
Panow.
Yes.
Uselman, yes. Godfrey.
Yes.
Schreider.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0. We move on to the consideration of approval of early childhood integrated contracts for 2023 and 2024.
I move the Board of Education approve the 2023-24 early childhood integrated contracts for Lily Pad Learning Center and Camelot Children's Center.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Godfrey, seconded by Mr. Henschel. Mrs. Reichenberger, do you have any comments that you'd like to share?
So good evening. We have included an executive summary prepared by the Director of School Services, Jason Gahan. The recommendation is that the Board of Education approves the two early childhood integrated contracts for 23-24 of Lily Pad Learning Center and Camelot Children's Center. The Fond du Lac School District provides special education services for students with disabilities from age 3 through 21. Our early childhood contracts allow us to provide students their specialized instruction within the least restrictive environment with their same age peers. The contracts have been included for your review.
Any questions at all? No? Can we have the roll, please?
Horth.
Yes.
Motor,
Yes.
Pinal,
Yes.
Uselman, yes. Godfrey,
Yes.
Henschel,
Yes.
Schreider.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0. Next, we'll consider the designation of Title IX coordinators.
I move the Board of Education approve the designation of Marissa Lombardo and Terrence Lofton as Title IX coordinators for Fond du Lac School District.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Henschel, seconded by Mrs. Horth. Mr. Gerlach.
This is just a update on some of our staff. We have 2 Title IX coordinators to handle that, and with the change in our staffing at the district level, we believe both of these individuals will be excellent Title IX coordinators.
Does the board have any questions or any comments?
Thank you for your service, serving in the past few years in that role.
No problem.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can we call the roll, please?
Yes. Motor,
Yes.
Pinal,
Yes.
Uselman, yes. Godfrey,
Yes.
Henschel,
Yes.
Horth,
Yes.
Schreider.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0. Next, we will move on to the consideration of approval of student fees for 2023 and 2024. This will be broken into 2 motions.
I move that the Board of Education recommend the administration to approve the general student fees for the 2023-24 school year. Elementary fees, grades 4K through 5, $10 per student. Read the second part of it?
Yep.
Okay. And for the middle schools, middle and high school fees, grades 6 through 12, $15 per student.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Godfrey, seconded by Mrs. Horth for the approval of these fees. Mr. Gerlach?
Yeah, thank you. These are the fees from the past. You may recall that we made a reduction in student fees. Largely, we're still in the process of evaluating that. I mean, the purpose of student fees is for really very specific student purposes. Hence, you'll see general fees. I mean, it's appropriate to charge a general fee as long as it's really deemed as a relatively nominal amount. And so we were trying to get that a little bit into control, which we think was why we're continuing with that recommendation into this year.
Dr. Flagg, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
Just a reminder, last year we did it, this is the second year of this restructure. In the past, it's been up to the individual schools, and we have centralized the expectation for our fees to really provide predictability for our families going forward. So it's an annual, actually, we have to have you approve the fees each year. So that was all I needed to add.
Any questions or comments, or?
I just have one question. Do we have supports in place for families that might need some support with that? I mean, it is a small fee.
Low-income families, the fee is waived for them.
Thank you.
Okay. Pinal? Uselman, yes. Godfrey?
Yes.
Henschel?
Yes.
Horth?
Yes.
Motor?
Yes.
Schreider.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0. Second part of this.
I move the Board of Education approve a $5 student parking permit fee at the high school for the 2023-24 school year.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Godfrey, seconded by Mr. Henschel. Pretty self-explanatory, I do believe. Any questions or concerns on this from the board? Comments, not concerns? No? Can we call the roll, please?
All right. Uselman, yes. Godfrey?
Yes.
Henschel?
Yes.
Horth?
Yes.
Motor?
Yes.
Pinal?
Yes.
Schreider.
Yes.
Thank you.
Becoming a little tongue-tied tonight, I'm out of practice. Next, we will consider approval to provide a retention bonus to educational and language interpreters.
I move the Board of Education approve the recommendation from the administration to provide a retention bonus to educational language interpreters.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Henschel, seconded by Mr. Godfrey. Mr. Gerlach, I'll turn it back over to you.
I'm going to defer to Marissa Lombardo, our Director of Human Resources, on this item.
Currently in our district, we have a difficulty with retaining some of our interpreters, both educational and language interpreters. These are people that have very specialized skills, and there are very few of them in the market. So we're looking to
that retention bonus get us closer to where that standard is right now in terms of the hiring that people are leaving for?
I talked to schools throughout the valley and throughout the state, and this is an issue everybody's facing. So whatever we can do to bring and retain and attract, this is a shortfall that everybody's facing. So anybody out there that wants to further their education, it's a big need. Please do it. But yeah, whatever we need to do, because there's a huge shortage out there.
Any other questions or comments? Can we call the roll, please?
Sure. Godfrey.
Yes.
Henschel.
Yes.
Horth.
Yes.
Motor.
Yes.
Penow.
Yes.
Uselman, yes. Schreider.
Yes. Motion carries 7-0. Next, we will move on to the consideration of the endemic reentry plan for 2023-2024.
I move the Board of Education approve the administration's reentry plan for the 2023-24 school year.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Godfrey, seconded by Mr. Henschel. Dr. Flagg, I will turn this over to you.
Thank you. The elementary and secondary school emergency relief ESSER 3 requires districts to update their instructional plan as part of their pandemic reentry plan. ESSER 3 is our stimulus money we receive from the federal government. As part of that, we have to update our plan, and as I did a year ago, I'm recommending an endemic strategy, meaning stay at home if you are sick and focus on students being present for in-person instruction with minimal disruption. I want to highlight a couple parts of our plan. Once again, we are going to continue to focus on high-quality instruction for in-person learning. The high school, Parkside Elementary School, and Chigwin Elementary School are entering the second year of their University of Virginia Partnership for Leaders in Education. Additionally, Pyre, Waters, and Rosenau are entering year 1 of the partnership. All schools in the district have a 90-day plan focusing on accelerating change in their respective schools. Additionally, the middle schools will be implementing iReady's personalized learning pathway for students this year, which will help provide personalized instruction for students to work on a specific skill deficit in reading as well as in math. And this will once again provide a resource for our teachers in the middle school to meet the wide range of the academic needs of their students. So I'm asking you to approve this evening.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, can we call the roll, please?
Yes. Henschel.
Yes.
Horth. Yes. Motor.
Yes.
Penow.
Yes.
Uselman, yes. Godfrey.
Yes.
And Schreider.
Yes. Motion carries 7-0. Next, we will take up consider naming the high school stadium Cardinal Stadium until 2048.
I move the Board of Education approve the administration's request to name the high school stadium Cardinal Stadium.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Henschel, seconded by Mr. Godfrey. Dr. Flagg, I will turn this back over to you.
Thank you. As we are looking forward to our exciting evening tomorrow night as the ribbon cutting for our new stadium, as well as the reveal of our new brand that Mr. Marion has worked on with the focus group, it is my recommendation that we name the high school stadium Cardinal Stadium. And the high school stadium project has basically come to a close, and the fundraising for the stadium has completed. When the fundraising began, there were 2 opportunities for donors to contribute $500,000. One was for naming rights for the stadium, and the other was for the naming rights of the field. The field is named National Exchange Bank Field due to their generous donation of $500,000. It's the administration's recommendation that the new stadium at the high school be named Cardinal Stadium until 2048. This is the same guideline the district used to name the high school field house, the Acuity Field House. Back in, I don't know, the year 2004, I think it was built, right? One, a couple of years off, I apologize. So I'm just asking we can make it official this evening that the high school stadium's named Cardinal Stadium.
So it would be National Exchange Bank Foundation Field at Cardinal Stadium.
No, it's National Exchange Bank Field at Cardinal Stadium. Yep. We don't have enough we need about 200 yards for that one, okay? And the stadium be about 100.
I tried.
All right,
I
no,
tried.
it's good. No, National Exchange Bank Field.
The letter is already ordered and paid for the stadium, so hopefully
Yeah.
this goes through.
We don't have the.
Somebody's son wanted his name on the sideline too.
So, oh boy. So I'm asking you to please consider that approval this evening.
questions, comments? I think it's a great opportunity to continue with our tradition as Cardinals, to be able to have that stadium named after that. It's going to be a beautiful facility, and it's going to remind everybody about Fond du Lac pride as well. So, can we call the roll, please?
Okay, Horth? Yes. Motor?
Yes.
Pennell?
Yes.
Uselman, yes. Godfrey?
Yes.
Henschel?
Yes.
Schreider?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0 for Cardinal Stadium.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to move on to board and administrator reports. We will discuss first Recreation Department rebranding, and we'll turn that over to Mr. Gerlach once again.
Thank you, Mr. Schreider. The Recreation Department is under the Operations Department. Mr. Marion led the rebranding efforts for the district, and so tonight I'm going to defer to him for this report.
Yeah, so we, as part of the overarching efforts, would like to rebrand the Community Education and Recreation Department to match that. Mr. Raymont has spoke at a previous board meeting, and Recreation Department is not inclusive of all that they offer. So he would really love to see a wider name, and to take advantage of that as we are going through a rebranding effort seems really wise. So that's a recommendation brought forth to you all today to formally consider Community Education and Recreation Department moving forward with our brand effort.
And I know as part of the focus group, this was a huge focus of Mr. Graymont's, to be able to really call out the different programs that they do offer other than just recreation. It's a little different setup with the school district being charged of this recreation and educational opportunity. So we did do a little bit of tweaking while we were in there to be able to really bring them in to this and really highlight the efforts that they do make.
Mr. Marion, could you expand beyond the recreation part? Again, I'm getting a lot of people asking about the rebranding. What that focus group included, people involved, the process. I know you went through it a couple months ago, but just remind people this wasn't just a district decision-making thing. It included a lot of stakeholders from the community, and that, if you don't mind just giving a summary of.
Happy to speak to that. So I started here in the district back in April, and that effort really started kind of at that point, as in the first, really my second week here, I went school to school, and it was really an effort that we were not clear and unified in terms of the district across all of our buildings. If you walked in one elementary school versus middle school, there was no tying factor that brought us together. So that kind of started conversations here in the building with our district level team of what we might do. So we engaged in a rebranding effort and started with a survey to our community representatives, families, our staff as well. And then we got together a focus group in the months to get us to the point where we're able to present the brand tomorrow. And really what was overarching opportunity and belief of the community that we needed to market better and to be competitive in today's educational landscape. So it's a wide arching effort that is going to really propel us to continue the good things that have occurred in the numerous years ahead that have gotten us to this point, but really to ensure that Fond du Lac remains a place that people want to send their kids and want to live.
We talked a lot about during the rebranding efforts, how do we continue to improve and how do we continue to grow and not stay stagnant? And this was one way, is to help to bridge that gap into the future as we move past 2023 and 2024 and what that looks like. This update is definitely something that all the stakeholders that were there, and it was a wide range group. It was people from the past, it was people from the present, and we had people of the future that were there to kind of talk about what this all meant. So I hope that kind of answers that as well, and takes on with what Mr. Marion said. Is it's a lot of people's energy went into this. So
Yeah, I wanted the public. I know we talked about it in the previous meetings. Wanted the public to hear it again, because as we go tomorrow and uncover the rebranding. There's always going to be people that like it and don't like it.
Yeah.
You know, that's just common. So and then they're going to ask why, and just want to make sure we have the why and the where as we go into it tomorrow, so we don't take away from the excitement that we have. So.
Yeah, and really appreciate it, and if it's, just to make sure it's 100% clear, it's a public event tomorrow as we ribbon cut and reveal all of that tomorrow. The gates will open at 5:30 p.m. at the newly named Cardinal Stadium, thanks to you all. And we'll start the program at 6 p.m. and see what the future holds, and we're really excited that this is a wonderful opportunity to kick off the new school year, and really, as we titled it, a new era is coming forward.
So, thank you. Piggybacking off that, you said one of the reasons was to tie all the schools together. Will that be shared tomorrow as well on how that's all going to tie together?
When you see all the logos, it'll be very clear.
Okay,
how we're
awesome.
a
Thank you.
unified front
Thank you.
And
going forward.
I know I have to be somewhat partial, but I can't wait for this rebuild with all these logos and to show everybody how this all ties together.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Marion, for sharing that. Next, we'll move on to Dr. Flagg and the superintendent reports.
Thank you. I just want to thank those of you that were there this morning to welcome back our new teachers. I just want to remind you next Monday is the official welcome back for all staff. It will be in our at the high school PAC at 8 a.m. We'll wrap up before 9:30 without any problem. So if you could make it, that would be outstanding to welcome back our entire teaching, support staff, and everybody next Monday. And we have an exciting program planned with the high school band as well as a few speakers. So we'll hope to see you all there. Which leads me to my second part of my report right now. I am really pleased to share with you some exciting information that I've been working on with it, as well as Marissa and Mike, and with really providing some additional care for our employees. And I'm really pleased to share with you that the district's going to be implementing an emotional well-being program called Leap Care for our employees this year. Leap Care will provide a care coach whose primary responsibility is to provide emotional care to our 850 employees in the Fond du Lac School District, 24 hours, 7 days a week. Additionally, they will be in our buildings doing weekly rounds and just getting to know our staff, getting to build relationships with them, as well as needed, provide one-on-one coaching and support for them. What I'm really excited about is that this is a proactive measure for our organization. So often we have employee assistance program, and that's a reactive measure. This is a proactive measure, and I'm really excited to be on the cutting edge of this. I've talked to other organizations that have used them, and has really helped with retention as well as help with employees as challenges come up in life. So I'm fortunate that I have both our two representatives from Leap Care here tonight, Mr. Michael Armstrong, Mr. Jeff Thompson, and I'd like to invite them up to the podium if you have any questions for them. So Michael and Jeff, will you please come on up? Yeah, the podium right there, thank you. So, just gave you, and maybe Jeff, maybe you want to give just a brief introduction of what exactly the work looks like day to day for the care coach.
Yeah,
so.
You did a great job with it though.
Oh, thanks.
Really our key is that proactive piece. And there are two pillars of care that we institute with our care coaches. Number one is permission. We're permission-based benefit to all employees and staff and teachers. They don't have to talk to us if they don't want to, but we are there to build that caring relationship in a proactive way. Really getting to know employees, hopefully before a crisis situation occurs, but all of us bring some form of stress on a day-to-day basis into our work. Life happens. And we need a place that we can take those issues and those concerns and those stresses in a way that's confidential. That's our second pillar of our service, is confidentiality. We protect that like a sacred trust. When someone shares with us a story, that's something we will really hold and maintain. So that way that the teachers and the staff know that they have a safe place where they can be heard. We hire people that know how to listen. We hire people that know how to keep a confidence, know how to listen well, know how to provide insight. One of the care sessions goals that we have is for the person we're working with to really have that aha moment at some point during that session where they realize the next step to take. Oftentimes stress can cause us to lose our ability to think straight. And so we work with the emotional side of that stress to really help manage that so that the employee can come to that point of realization of what is the next best step for them to take. Everybody is unique that we serve, and we honor that by working with them in ways that are unique to solving their issues and their problems that they're struggling with. The service also extends to family, and so as a teacher or a staff member of the district, they will be able to have their family members who are going through a tough time or a crisis be able to reach out to their care coach and to receive services. Our care coaches spend a lot of time developing resource lists within our communities so that we know where to send people to get the help that they need. We also realize that there are licensed professionals available for them, and so we still continue to work with existing EAP programs that are there to refer employees as needed. The difference being that we don't just give them a number and say, call. We actually encourage them to make the call, and we coach them through that therapeutic process so that they're never alone as they walk through and journey through that. Most companies actually see an increase in the EAP usage once our care coaches are installed. And so really the secret sauce is that proactive approach that we take. Being able to have access to the schools gives us the opportunity to build that caring relationship with all the teachers and the staff so that we can be there for them in a moment of crisis. Also, all of our care coaches are trained in critical incident stress debriefing. So when there is a major issue that might happen in the district, we can immobilize several care coaches to be here to help work through all that are affected by that stressful crisis situation. We know that within 24 hours after a crisis experience, it's really essential to have that debriefing conversation. So we have over 25 care coaches in the state that can actually get here within 3 to 4 hours, depending on how they drive, to get here in time to be able to work with your staff. So we're very excited to be serving the school district.
Add one thing that I forgot to add into highlight what Jeff said about the critical incident debrief. Been through a number of tough things as a principal and whatnot, and even as a superintendent, that we've never taken the time to care for ourselves as staff get in these situations where a student passes away or there's accidents that happen. And this is what really excited me also about this process. That, and Jeff, if I'm not mistaken, if we have something horrible happen, which I hope doesn't, if that debrief within 24 hours does what?
It reduces the chances of PTSD effects by 90%. And that's a documented fact. Where we get our licensing from, they actually collect that kind of data for us so that we know that is an essential fact. They can reduce the effects of PTSD by over 90%. A simple conversation that we walk them through a model, making sure that they understand their thoughts, their feelings, and how they're going to begin to cope in a healthy way. And also making sure that they realize that they're not alone in the situation.
Logistically, how does it sounds like they're walking halls, they're building relationships throughout the day or throughout the different buildings. If someone wants to talk to them, are we providing a space for them to have privacy? That's number one. And if so, I know I work in the benefits arena, and there's always the fear of the stigmatism and someone seeing them, that piece of it. Mm-hmm. And that's getting better. Yeah. And I hope it continues to get better.
It is, yeah.
But I was just curious on the logistics of those types of things.
I'll add it. So it's the principals will provide a location for the employee to meet with the care coach, but if the employee does not want to meet with the care coach at school or in a place out of fear of the stigma,
yep.
Jeff and I, that was one of the questions we talked about when we met with the group. They can meet him for a cup of coffee, wherever and whatnot.
Yep.
So, and Jeff, you may want to take it from there.
Yeah, our care coaches know where all the McDonald's and where all the Starbucks are. I just saw a Caribou too in town here as well. So, so they actually would prefer that a teacher or a staff member take that time to be confidential and not have to worry about any kind of stigma. We also train our care coaches that the next time they're on rounds is not to go back to the person who received care and act as if there's a deeper relationship. So we even go to the extent of protecting their confidentiality that way as well.
What kind of next step reporting and reporting back that we can see if it's been successful or
Yeah.
haven't been successful. I'm sure it's an investment, is my imagination.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's a great question. We provide monthly activity reports, and these reports never reveal names, but they do reveal how many contacts that the care coach had, how many care coaches or care sessions we had, how many times we went to the hospital representing the district to visit people, funerals we might have had to attend. And it also gives topics so that you have an idea of what kind of topics your staff and teachers are dealing with and struggling with to provide a potentially additional help in those categories.
And this
Yeah.
is a free cost for our staff?
Yes. Well, it's not free.
No,
To the
the-
staff.
It's free to the
staff
staff,
it
the district's paying for it, yes.
yes,
Yes.
to the staff it is.
Yes, to the staff it is. We are, yeah, Jeff would know, yes,
Yeah.
we've entered into a contract with them, yes.
And is that is it like an annual? kind
Annual
of fee?
cost, yep.
Okay.
So we're gonna contract for 1 year to really evaluate this, and I think it's gonna take time for the care coach to build rapport.
Yeah.
And we will probably see a pretty great impact second semester.
Well, and during that, we'll measure how many referrals to the EAP and stuff like that too.
We can do that. We have other organizations we work for that ask us to do the same thing, to measure utilization rates for their EAP from the beginning of our service until 6 months or 12 months in. Yeah.
Because EAPs are way underutilized.
They really are.
Most people are just getting rid of them because nobody uses them. So if.
And they're a great service.
Yeah, they can be.
Yeah.
So,
Now, will each building have their own care counselor, or will that one care counselor be for the entire district?
We're gonna provide one care coach for the entire district. Yeah, so it's a lot of work, but that we're trained to handle between 800 to 1,000 employees per care coach. And so here, it actually will be easier for the care coach that we have in mind because there'll be one city that he'll be working through.
nice. And they'll also have the virtual communication if needed and all that. And
Yeah.
Virtual communication.
That's a whole other added benefit. We call that LEAP Care, or Living Employee Assistance Program, LEAP Care. And that's an additional service that's available for all employees as well. So that's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They can get to their actual care coach, or they can use a care coach that's available online. So they can do video conversations, they can talk by text, which people do, or they can set up a phone conversation as well.
Okay. Good stuff.
And we're very excited to be serving.
Thank you.
I think as we talk about, the process of change that we go through and the emphasis that we have for, caring not only for our students, but now we've entered into a process that we care for our staff as well. It is going to make us stronger altogether, and it's going to be an opportunity, to show, that we are a district that's willing to be on that cutting edge and to be able to do it. I have seen this in action, and know through, different things that just how meaningful this process can be, kind of grown up with it, so to speak. So I think it's going to be a huge benefit as we move forward, and I think this year will show that, I don't really have too many words to say how tremendous of an opportunity this gives us as a district, for our staff.
The biggest thing is, like anything, other benefit is engagement, participation.
Absolutely.
So encouraging, building those relationships are key. And the biggest thing is, my plea to the employees and to the staff is use it. We're spending money in you as our staff and in a program that hopefully can help you. And so please don't be afraid to reach out and use it. We want to encourage that. That's the biggest piece. It's like any other benefit. You can throw as many benefits as you want out there, but if people aren't using them, they don't have value, So please use it.
The proactive piece really makes that the difference.
Yeah.
Every other benefit's reactive. The fact that we get in there makes the interaction go way up.
I agree with that. That's a huge plus. So thank you very much. And yeah.
I think this is a great acknowledgement of the need here. You can't pour from an empty cup. Teachers need to take care of themselves, and I love that we're encouraging them to do that with this proactive approach.
And a big thing with this, and like Jeff had talked about a little bit, is think the word stigma came up too. This is an opportunity to speak to somebody that is completely away from what you are dealing with in your current life situation, whether what you're doing teaching, whether you're doing at home. You know, this objectiveness to have somebody that is trained to be able to just listen and be proactive and to help you through any situation that you're going through outside of that circle, you know what I mean? And that's the trust that comes into that, I think is a huge opportunity, so.
I assume that the service is available to people other than teachers that are employees in the district.
All 850.
Okay.
Custodians, administrators.
Yeah.
But I'll also say this.
IAs.
Our model is to care for you and your employees and anyone you care about. So once we have a care coach in here, if you have a student in a family, if you have a relative in Florida, if you have care anywhere in the United States that you know about, and we're invited in, one of our we have hundreds of care coaches across the country who can be deployed to go help them. So again, it's you, your employees, their families, everyone.
Yeah, one of our favorite stories is to talk about how somebody comes to us with a need. I can't get to my dad who's passing away in Arizona, and I feel so guilty about that. We have care coaches in Arizona, and we have the great story of a care coach being able to show up and be there during those last moments on the phone with the relative, making sure those connections were happening. So that happens. We have 370 care coaches across the country, so we can make that happen.
Thank you once again, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Much
Appreciate it.
All right, now we are on to board members, student and staff activities. I know we've had a month-long break here during the summer vacation that some things are occurring, some things aren't occurring, so we will start with Mrs. Horth.
I don't have any updates, just looking forward to school starting and getting back into all of the activities.
Mr. Henschel.
Multiple walks through and stuff like that at the stadium with different people, but then also had nice luxury last Friday to go down and watch the football JV and varsity scrimmage, Middleton, Arrowhead, and forgot who the other one was. There's a third one there. Kenosha Indian Trails. So it's going to be fun to get the football team back on the field. We look pretty good. We're underrated right now, but I think we bring a little bit of grit to the field, which is going to be fun to watch.
Just the new teacher meeting this morning, which was phenomenal. It's always great to see the new faces. They're all excited to get going, and a few of my old students in there too, which is awesome.
Absolutely. Ms. Pennell?
Mike Whitney, I attended the welcome for the new teachers. Welcome for the new teachers, and I agree that it was very, very well done, and you could feel the enthusiasm and excitement and anticipation for the upcoming year.
Mrs. Muller?
Yes, this morning was wonderful. I'm glad I was able to attend and see all the faces. I'm excited to get going. And then I had the opportunity to attend Take Back the Night, which was led by our community members, but and a big connection through our school resource officers, and all our school resource officers, as well as some of our community, those that are on our, what's the word I'm looking for? Not the planning team regarding if there's crisis. I forgot the name of that. Our crisis team, how about that? Thanks. So it was really great to see them all, and a number of students were there and families, and got some hugs from some students from long ago.
Mr. Godfrey?
Excuse me. I attended the National Night Out with the Fond du Lac Police Department the first Tuesday of this month, and I can honestly say this year was probably far by the biggest crowd and the biggest group of vendors that they've had out there. It was really, really nice to see a lot of community members and city leaders and people out there, just to get to see our local law enforcement agencies and all the work and the hard work that they do. Second of all, I also attended the welcome new teachers meeting this morning. It was really nice. It was good to definitely see a lot of the new teachers that are coming into our district. I peeked over at the all three levels of our football team last week as well. I was sneaking around the high school and just had to go peek around the corner because I normally sneak out there in the morning to see if they were practicing, and that morning I finally caught them out there practicing, and it was really, they look good, and I can't wait to see them on Friday night. And lastly, I'm going to share this, which most people have already pretty much know this, but as of 2 weeks ago, that my wife is officially in remission, and it was, thank you everybody in this community. Thank you for the people that's sitting in this room, sitting around this board table. Thank you all for your thoughts, prayers, and your support, because this was a really lengthy battle, but through the grace of God and all the prayers and everything else, my wife is officially cancer-free. So thank you all.
Awesome. Awesome news. I myself attended this morning with the new teacher welcome. There was a palpable excitement within the crowd. I was able to speak to a few of these new teachers in the lobby before it started, as I came in and shook out the umbrella and was spraying it all over the place at everybody. So I can't believe I would do that, but it was great conversation there. And then I also took some time to get some feedback from some of our group that went out to the AVID meetings in Minneapolis and heard a little bit more about their process out there and how that went. That sounded like it was a awesome experience. I know a few of them have gone multiple times now out there and learning different things, so it was great to hear. And then was able to get my son off to college for football camp this past Tuesday and have him all settled and ready to go. He's loving it out there, so that was for me. So that brings us to our second public comment. Anyone else that would like to come up to the podium after this board meeting to speak to the school board, please feel free to do so, remembering 5 minutes per person, 10 minutes per topic.
Good evening. Shari Trotter, 11th Street. As you know, I usually put these notes from Stream of Consciousness right on a piece of paper. I usually have to borrow a pen. I told the friend out there, I promise this next school year I'll bring my own pen, because all of a sudden I'm like, can't thank you. I think of all these things while people are speaking. So once again, I always say Mr. Torte, my U.S. history teacher, always said the person that sticks their head out in the crowd always gets the rotten tomato. So here I go again. I'll give roses first of all, just to keep it positive for a minute. I just wanted to thank some of our administrators and teachers and other community members for coming and visiting our Ebony Vision library that we've started. We will be, hopefully by the next week, at 1,000 black books in our library. So we're gonna roll something out later about how we're gonna make it more of a lending library, but you know, that's our great start to it. The bilingual language teachers you were speaking of and said, you know, how can we find people? Just from my personal experience, because I feel like sometimes people tell me the truth and they don't, you know, that's like anything in life where you work, you don't sometimes want to tell the truth somewhere, and you know, to get in more trouble. So anyway, so I have personally been friends with a couple people through the years that have did this role in our district, and it goes right back to relationships. I say this every time with about everything I talk about, it's relationships. My personal conversations with 2 different people through the years is that it is almost a disrespectful relationship between classroom teachers and things, and I'm not saying it pointing at individuals, I'm saying as a structure. This is what they've complained to me about. So there has to be some kind of relationship building that's better, you know, because we are all humans. So, you know, if you speak a different language, you know, that's part of your teaching job, is to communicate with the person that's gonna help the other person, their student, you know, learn like everybody else. So I just wanted to bring that up, that I've had 2 personal conversations about that. I don't know if it's the same situation, but I'm letting you know that's what they told me. And then my other thing is, I just wanted to say it's 50 years of hip hop, and I don't know if anybody's old enough to remember Public Enemy's Fear of a Black Planet album that came out, but I just feel like it still goes on every day, Fear of a Black Planet. And the reason I bring this up is I want to tie this into our district instead of talking about other schools in the UW system. So UW system has never gone over 3% of black students ever in the history of their school. Never over 3%. They have a graduation rate of 80% of their black students. 89 usually is the percentage of white graduates if we're talking about stuff like this. So instead of talking about UW, I want to look into our district also. You know, how many percentage of black students and how many graduate, and see, you know, what we're doing here with that. And also I wanted to bring up, it's funny, I wore this shirt because this is where my daughter's transferring to. It's an HBCU. Sometimes people are sick and tired of being sick and tired. So she's gonna go to an all-black college now. And my older kids also wanted to do that, but funding just wasn't available at that time. But I bring that up to say, also in conversations with kids that are going to school, possibly post-secondary, we need staff to be also talking about HBCUs for, you know, black students and brown students, and, you know, right along with, you know, hey, let's go to, you know, UW-Madison or whatever. You know, it should be including everybody about all different things, and that takes time to learn about stuff like that. You know, some people are like, what is an HBCU? You know, so the people that are looking over the students that are giving them ideas about life after high school should be versed in stuff like that. And I just wanted to say that.
About 30 seconds. Sure.
I'm done. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Anyone else want to come forward and address the board? Seeing none, we will move to adjourn.
Here, I'll turn it on first. I move the Board of Education adjourn the regular meeting, convene a workshop to review suggested Neola policy updates, volume 32-1.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Henschel, seconded by Mr. Godfrey for adjournment. Can we have the call of the roll, please?
Motor,
Yes.
Pinal,
Yes.
Uselman, yes. Godfrey,
Yes.
Henschel,
Yes.
Horth,
Yes.
Schreider.
Yes,
Thank you.
motion carries 7-0. The regular meeting of the August 14th Fond du Lac School District School Board is adjourned at 6:06. We are going to reconvene at 6:15. 6:15, have your food in hand. We got policies to go through. This is live, yeah, the workshop's live. Look at all right, the
This shouldn't be
workshop
too bad. This
for the
policy
August
part shouldn't be
14th
too bad.
Board of Education meeting is now in session at 6:17 PM. Can we have a call the roll, please, because we may have
Yes.
lost some people.
Godfrey.
Here.
Henschel.
Here.
Horth.
Here.
Motor.
Here.
Pinell.
Here.
Uselman here. Schreider.
Here.
Thank you.
The purpose of this workshop is to go through our Neola policies. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Flagg.
Okay, so you have a pack of the policies before you. I just want to kind of back up here and take you through. This is the first of 2 readings of policy updates that we get through Neola. After we finish this and the second reading of this in this month, we have another one to do starting in October. So we'll be back to you with some new policy probably in November for you to read and review. So this is part of is an ever-changing landscape in policy as well as with law. So that's why we're providing some updates tonight for you. So I will go through each one. Bear with me here, and if you as I go through. So let's look at policy 0100. That's definitions. This policy, this is a revision. New definitions have been added for the terms legal notice and official newspaper, as those terms may be referenced in various policies. And Neola recommends that this revision is recommended to update references. So as you can see, it's just a couple of minor changes in there, and it's just a revision.
I'm assuming the formatting is going to be reset when they put it back together.
It'll be reset, yes, yes. We want to show you the strike-throughs too, okay? Policy 0175, association memberships. The revision adds an additional membership option for the board. So this is just adding some flexibility for the board if they want to join other organizations other than the Wisconsin School District Board, Wisconsin School Boards, and National School Boards. Policy 2210 is curriculum development. This policy is revised to more closely align with DPI regulations pertaining to curriculum development and content, as well as add to reference the review process. The policy also incorporates reference to innovative instructional design concepts and a cross-reference to the innovative instructional programming policy. This adoption is recommended. So, any questions on that? That one, there's quite a bit of work on that one. And I just want to remind the board also, at the second reading, we can also entertain questions on, so they don't have to be right now. I just want to entertain, just make sure everybody, because I know this for some of you, this may be your first look at these policies. Policy 2220, adoption of courses of study. This policy has been revised in coordination with policy 2210, the one we just discussed, to better reflect DPI regulations. Policy 2221, special observance days. This policy has been revised to align with current state law that specifies September 11th as a special observance day, as well as certain provisions for Arbor Day. Okay. Yep. Oh, I'm sorry. Policy 2430, district-sponsored clubs and activities. This policy has been updated to include language permitting the use of the district logo and other intellectual property when in compliance with the policy in order to be consistent with the current guidelines. It is recommended. Okay, policy 3215 and 4215. This is use of tobacco and nicotine by professional / support staff. This is a revision. This policy is revised to specifically prohibit smoking as intended and to reference marijuana and hemp derivatives within the context of smoking. This is provided to give districts more authority to control the use of these partially legal products that are nonetheless used as mood-altering substances impacting students in schools. So, just to include as I sit, over, as I said, 30 years in this job, starting year 30, with cigarette smoking was a big thing forever in schools. Now it doesn't exist. It's just changed. So We have to change with the times.
I remember the teacher's lounge being full of smoke.
Yes, probably
Trouble
that,
walking in
yeah,
going,
probably that
"Oh."
too.
Big difference nowadays.
Policy 5200, attendance. So this policy is revised to incorporate definitions of key terms for both purposes of this policy. These definitions are required in order to enforce truancy requirements and potentially to enforce open enrollment termination provisions in the context of habitual truancy. So,
Sir, Dr. Flagg, in the attendance part, it says that each district is to appoint a school attendance officer. Have we done that?
yes, that's typically the administrator in the building. The principal, the assistant principal, probably the assistant principal at our secondary schools. And I just want to, I think the important thing to highlight here is on the last page of the policy that the open enrollment program is that the student's open enrollment may be terminated if the student is habitually truant, and the process is described in Board Policy 5113. So, just want to make sure you all are aware of that. Policy 5330, administration of medication/emergency care. This policy is updated to clarify options and includes revised language, including the storage of medications. This revision is recommended for consistency with current practices. So there's no real, it's just, the big thing is that non-prescription drugs in our secondary schools, such as acetaminophen, ibuprofen, can be kept in stock by the district with an order from the school, with an order provided by the school health program supervisor, and that the authorization form is signed by the parent. So I just want to, so we have cleaned up that policy a bit.
Can I just ask a clarifying question? So we would rather a student does not carry those for themselves?
That is correct.
And if they did, they should have parents' note with them? Or
No,
not at all? Just
not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
Do I know? Do I think it happens? Probably. So yes, but ibuprofen. Yeah, but we have to. Yes, and of course, any prescription medication, they should not. But yes. Yep. Go ahead, Joan. I'm sorry.
That's okay. In conjunction with medical, again, because I'm new, medical advisor committee is also said to be required for a district.
Yes, and that's that's led by our school health program supervisor,
And who is that?
Miss Irving, Jill Irving.
Thank you.
You bet. Policy 5340, this is student accidents, illness, concussion, and sudden cardiac arrest. This policy has been revised to reflect the best practices regarding health, safety, and welfare of students when a teacher or coach determines a student is exhibiting signs, symptoms, or behavior consistent with concussion or head injury. So it's just an update to the policy, and it basically is just a protection for our students.
I got a question. I know through coaching youth sports, every year, multiple times, because I coached 3 sports, we had to do concussion protocol training as coaches. I would assume our school coaches do that every year. What's the requirement on something like that?
There's a requirement from I believe from the WIA, but I don't know what it is right now, and I have to get back to you, but I do know there is a requirement for that. Yes.
I assume there was if we were
Yep.
doing it.
And I
all
don't know how
through.
often, Mark, if it's yearly or not, but there is a requirement, yes.
Okay.
And that's added in this here part, Mark?
Yeah.
This policy that says coaches and physical education staff will be trained.
Just didn't know what that looked like. You know, you've gone through the same training I went through, multiple times for football and that. I'm just kind of curious.
One for my own personal training.
Policy 5410, promotion, placement, and retention. This policy is updated to include new definitions to match the current administrative guidelines. These revisions are recommended for compliance. So we did some definition on promotion, placement, and retention there. And then it highlights the process as well as an appeal process if a student is retained. And it's,
So, and actually, I just talked to Andrea about this in the lunchroom for just a minute ago. So is this new that if a student scores at minimal level on grade 4 or 8, the way that they go through that specific process, that's new to me? and I didn't know if we have processes in place for that, just so that it's consistent throughout the district.
This is in reference to state law 118.1.33. So with this process, to my knowledge, it's not happened under me at all. I've had parents that have, I had a parent request this past year to retain their child, and after a discussion, I sided with the parent, but it was early on. It was a 4K, I believe, or kindergarten, and I really supported the parent on it. It's not something we do. There is a plethora of research that supports retention does not work, but we do need to have a process in place per state law.
The way I read this, and maybe I'm not reading it correctly, is it the parent? Because what I read is if a student scores at minimal level on one or more subtests, I'm just reading from here, or if the district has not yet received the scores for 4th or 8th grade by May 1st, then the promotion decision will be based on the student's grade 4 or grade 8 academic performance respectively. I didn't hear that. That sounds to me like it's our school system that's making the decision, not the parent. So that was surprising to me.
It is, from my understanding, it is done in collaboration with the parent and the student. But there, as you read further down, there is a process of where they have to collaborate with the parents.
So,
it's the promotion team.
Okay.
The promotion team will make a recommendation to the principal.
So the way I read this is that they wouldn't be moving on unless that team met and looked over different information when I read this.
Yes, and if I'm not mistaken, the promotion team takes it to the principal, then the principal shall make the promotion decision based upon the best interest of the child, which is probably the most important statement in the policy.
Sure.
Of what is made in the best interest of the child.
So past practice was students would move on unless the families or the principal or teacher brought it forward. When I read this, it was almost like students don't move on unless that's looked at.
I don't see this as a change in our current practice.
Okay. That's all I need to know. Just when I read it, that's what it sounded like to me, but I like our practice.
Thank you.
Well, they also talked about even if they get minimal on the test, but then their classroom grades are different, maybe it's a testing issue instead of right. So there's all these options of things to look at so that they are very careful to properly assess the student's performance level.
Just sounded like there's a process that needs to happen when this happens each time, and I don't believe we're doing that. That's why I was curious.
Right.
One sec, I gotta come. I know as a parent, I was able to hold, it was up to my decision to hold one of my children back as a parent, and there was a whole process. I met with counselor, principal, teacher, and I had to physically sign that paper saying that it was a choice of mine and my wife to hold our child back a year. And when I say holding them back that year was so beneficial as their education, and that my child they appreciated that we did that. So it shouldn't be looked at as a frown to hold the child back, but if it's warranted and the parents are on board with it, I don't think it would be a problem.
Thank you. Policy 5512, the use of tobacco and nicotine by students. This is revised to match the previous two policies, which were number 3215 and 4215. And this policy is revised to specifically prohibit smoking as intended and to reference marijuana and hemp derivatives within the context of smoking. This is provided to give districts more authority to control the use of these partially legal products that are nonetheless used as mood-altering substances impacting students in schools. Policy 5517, student anti-harassment. This policy is revised for purposes of consistency with current laws and regulations regarding student anti-harassment.
I had a couple questions about this one. First of all, we will be updating the officers in here when we do all the rest of them, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then on page 8 of the policy.
Let me get there. It takes a while because it's a long policy.
It is.
All right, 8 of 30. Yep, I'm there.
So I'm about probably 3/4 of the way down the page. It says, at the conclusion of the investigation, the CO shall prepare and deliver a written report, and written is being stricken. Why is that?
Probably via email or electronic.
So that's, okay, that
Yeah.
doesn't, I would have thought that would be
I would think it'd be implied. I don't know why it was stricken, but they still have to deliver a report,
Okay.
which summarizes the evidence gathering.
I just thought that was strange. Okay,
Yeah.
so I would have considered email written, but that's, okay. And then on the very next page, way at the bottom, it says, the last green bit there says, respondents must be provided an opportunity to meaningfully respond to allegations which may include disclosures of the complainant's identity. But if you turn the page, it says that the respondent must be provided with the complainant's identity in the first line on the next page. Those seem to be,
So
either something's redundant there, or am I reading that wrong?
that is a very good question. I do know that the complaint's identity does need to be provided for the person to respond to. We will check that and get back to you.
Okay, and then there's one really small typo.
Just hold on here one
in the
second. I just want to
next-
mark that one quick
Okay.
second here, okay? Yep, I'm with
And then,
you.
yep, in the next paragraph there, where it says, they've changed it from all the parties, and then it says each person. It should be just who is interviewed instead of who are interviewed.
Linda, can you,
Right
where, I just want to see
there.
where you're at. Okay, oh, there you are. Okay, just let me just see it here, okay.
Just because they changed it to a singular, and they just didn't change the
Oh,
verb to
yes,
go with it.
constructive. Yep, gotcha, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions on the harassment policy at all?
I got A's in all of it.
Anything else on that one? Okay. Policy 5771, search and seizure. This policy is revised to provide additional option for the frequency of inspections and an updated statutory reference. Okay. Policy 7434, use of tobacco and nicotine in school premises. This policy is reviewed to specifically prohibit smoking as intended and to reference marijuana and hemp derivatives within the context of smoking. This is provided to give districts more authority to control the use of these partially legal products that are nonetheless used as mood-altering substance impacting students in school. So this is tied with the other revisions we have done, the previous three policies. 7440, facilities security. Language has been added to reflect a recent Wisconsin Court of Appeals decision which permits searches of non-student visitors or vehicles on school property under certain circumstances. See State v. Vang. This pertinent case citation is added to the legal references.
So when it says the board authorizes a superintendent, you might assign somebody else?
So when superintendent is capitalized in our policies, that is myself or a designee.
Okay, thank you.
$75.44, use of social media. The policy is revised to add an intermediate option to the designation of permitted activity and forum determination of district-approved social media platforms. Review of this policy and current selections made by the district is strongly encouraged to ensure board policy and practice are consistent and deliberate.
I just had a really quick question about that one. In the second phrasing there, it used to say parents/guardians, and they striking guardians. Is there a purpose to that?
I do not know. I'd say caregiver maybe instead of guardians, but
Because there are some students that do have guardians, not parents.
yes,
so,
exactly.
yeah,
And
it
some
seems
have
more inclusive
caregivers
to
too.
leave it.
Okay, we'll check on that. I don't know. I don't remember why that was stricken at all. I don't know.
If anything, they should have legal guardian, because there's some people who can say, well, I'm a guardian, but they're not legal guardian. There's different layers of that.
That's why caregiver kind of encompasses all of them. I like that better. Okay, we'll have to check with them. Okay, thank you. Any other?
Sometimes it's because the law says that you have to match the law, but I don't know if that's the case here.
Okay, policy 8120 volunteers. This policy has been revised to align with Neola recommendations. The wording has been changed to reflect that background checks are required for volunteers. It's been the practice of the district to do that, but it has not been a requirement. And policy. That the practice has been, it's been required. Yes, yep. Just made it stronger, so it's well done. Policy 8405, Environmental Health and Safety Program. This policy is revised to more closely align with statutory requirements for developing the Indoor Environmental Quality Plan, and additional and updated citations were added, there are added. So, in this instance here, where the board designates the superintendent to serve as the district IEQ coordinator of the district, John Williams is actually that person in this role, right? John, you would be the person, because it's the superintendent or the designee. Epidemics and Pandemics, Policy 8420.01. This policy has been modified to avoid language that might be interpreted to implicate open meeting laws based on Wisconsin Supreme Court ruling in 2017, and adds options for flexibility in plan development.
So basically, the reference to a team or a committee would mean those individuals would have to be taking notes, and that would be an open reading. It's kind of a situation whenever they were getting together.
Yes, that's what I take from this.
Okay.
And it basically gives the district administration the flexibility needed to take quick action if needed. Yes, if needed. Policy 8450, control of casual contact communicable disease. Revisions are made to this policy to more accurately reflect the statutory requirements and authority granted to certain school staff and required action found in 25.21 of Wisconsin statutes. Pretty minor change there. In policy 8600, transportation's been revised. This policy's been revised to incorporate regulatory language regarding placement of video and audio surveillance equipment in district-owned or contracted busing.
And we did have that in the contract we just approved.
Yes, it was.
Johnson, or not.
Yes.
Whatever their name is now.
All right, and the second to last policy is the one that's it's going to take a little bit of time for me to go through this with you. So this is in regard to policy 8800. This is the religious activities and observances. So this policy has been revised to reflect the recent U.S. Supreme Court decision in Kennedy versus Bremerton School District, in which the court clarified the equal importance of and the interaction between the Constitution's first two amendment clauses pertaining to religious rights. The Bremerton decision reinforced employees' rights to the free exercise of religion, such that a First Amendment analysis regarding district action, i.e. discipline or censorship, must consider whether the employee is exercising the staff member's free rights. As a practical matter, the analysis remains unchanged. However, the court clarified that the school district officials were not entitled to err on the side of avoiding a violation of the Establishment Clause. The policy is also revised by removing the U.S. flag observances and placing those provisions in a separate policy, Policy 8802. Revisions are recommended, and if not adopted so that the applicable policies articulate current law, a district can be exposed to a constitutional challenge to the policy as facially invalid. Likewise, application of the concepts does not require officials to apply the law as described in the policy revision. So this was a pretty big Supreme Court case that came out last year, in which the football coach after the game went and kneeled on the field to have a moment of prayer or a moment of, and the district, I believe, violated his constitutional rights. So and the Supreme Court ruled that there was a fine line between was he in the scope of his job or not. So just really cleans up the policy and gives us great guidance going forward. And then lastly, policy 8802, patriotic observances. This policy is added to separate the observances language from religious activity policy to more accurately distinguish the concepts. The policy also provides an open relative to moments of silence intended to avoid religious connotations to such remembrance or recognition observances.
So with that checkbox at the bottom there, that's something that we could take or leave in this policy?
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's where we'll need a little bit of, and you don't have to give an answer tonight, we can bring it back next time, and if we, to take a look at. Just to, our board meetings begin with a moment of reflection. So, I think we have to, and I don't know if, I think we have to be careful, and that's not done in a religious manner, I believe, but if you want to keep it, we would need to evaluate that versus what our practice is already.
I just think about when we had a moment of silence after some violence in the community, as well as when we lost a student, those kind of things. And like you had said, we do have to have a really specific, but I know I've received feedback that people appreciated that we took that moment of silence.
And the moment of silence is fine, we just can't have it be related to religion. So we can make it, if you're unsure on that, you want to take some time to reflect, I will highlight that as a conversation for us to discuss at the next board meeting when we look at these policies, okay? And then,
So you're posing the question, should we have the moment of silence, or should we not?
so at the bottom of the policy, there's a little box there that says that we can adopt that option if we want. And it's an option for us to consider.
So basically, we can leave that last paragraph in the policy, or we can not adopt it and just leave the rest of it there.
But our practice has been that we've had moments of silence for certain significant things.
Why would we not retain that?
Well, he's just throwing that out there. I agree with you.
I was gonna say Neola's giving us the option, so
Yeah.
I just wanted to point out that.
So we gotta vote on
We need
that.
to actually just,
Okay.
if we want it, just be affirmative that we're keeping it.
And if, I'm not asking you to give me any direction tonight, I think as our first reading, so if we are unsure at the next reading, we can always postpone the approval of the second, because we have to do a second reading before we get to approval, correct, Sean? We do 2 readings and then we approve. Yep, I knew
There's
another
multiple
step.
processes, Joan.
So Joan, we have plenty of time. But you're not off the hook after one meeting at the policy, okay? All right, I'm sorry there, all right? Sorry, I'm not, no.
We'll hear this more than once.
No problem.
All right, all right, thank you all.
Any other questions or comments?
I was just fascinated by all these observances that we're supposed to have in our schools, and I had to look a few of these people up.
Yeah, me too.
That was not covered when I went through school.
I get fascinated by the dates that the policies are updated. I mean, there was a 2009 in there was a 2015 in there was a,
Well,
so.
the
I really-
attorneys stay in business this way, is what happens.
I really appreciate the way they had it organized for us, though. It made it really easy to read and see what the changes were.
They do that all the time.
All right.
Okay, thank you all.
Oh, you need a motion? Move the Board of Education adjourn the executive session.
No, no, we're on the workshop.
Oh, in the workshop, I'm sorry.
Yep. Top one.
Oh, I'm reading wrong. Oh, go back. I move the Board of Education adjourn the workshop and join in an executive session to discuss site acquisitions as provided in Wisconsin Statute 19.885 1E, deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing in public funds, or conducting other specific public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Godfrey, seconded by Mr. Henschel for adjournment. Can we have a call of the roll, please?
Yes. All right, Godfrey?
Yes.
Henschel?
Yes.
Horth? Yes. Motor?
Yes.
Pennell?
Yes.
Uselman, yes. Schreider?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes,
Workshop is adjourned at 6:40.